Hi everyone, I'm going to take you through the next step of improving the plastic skeleton, which is dry brushing the plastic. First of all, I took white, blue and black acrylic paint. I wanted to sort of create like a bluey grey colour in the end. And yeah, that's my pyjama legs, you can see. What I did is I started off using just acrylic paint, but then later on I mixed latex with the paint to make sure it would stick better. It was sticking alright to the black of the bin bag, but the skeleton underneath the paint was rubbing off. So I mixed some latex with it and that seemed to help it stick. I know people normally, like when they're painting like latex masks and things, they use acrylic paint, Prozaid and distilled water, but I haven't got those, so I've just used acrylic paint and latex. And as you can see, I'm dipping my brush into my grey blue mixture, wiping it off onto a tissue, and then very lightly flicking the brush backwards and forwards so just the tip of the bristles touches the plastic, and that just adds a very thin layer of acrylic paint over the whole skeleton. Basically, I wanted to break up the black a bit because it was really dark, and I wanted to just lighten it up slightly so that the other colours that I want to use would show. And I'm just working my way down the legs. And obviously whatever you do on the front, make sure you do it on the back, and you'll have it all nice and colour matched throughout. So at the minute it's just a mixture of a tiny bit of latex, blue, white and black acrylic paint, and it creates this sort of bluey grey colour. And I carried on that and covered as much as I could. And it was about this point where I realised I hadn't painted the skeleton underneath before I applied the plastic corpsing effect. And yes, it does say on the instructions when I had this magazine that you could take his eyes out with a spoon, which is what I've just done, which I thought was quite funny. So what I'm doing now is using some yellow ochre and some burnt umber paint to paint the bones that are exposed from underneath. Could have done with doing this before I corpsed it, but halfway through corpsing it was when I realised I hadn't stained the skeleton, but never mind, it can always be fixed. And then what I did once I'd done that is I took, oh yeah, that was another little loose flappy bit that I just tightened up with my heat gun. Then what I did is I took the burnt umber acrylic paint and mixed it with a bit of latex, and then just dry brushed that over the top of the bluey grey mixture that I'd done earlier, because at this point I decided I wanted it to have a little bit of like a browny colour to it. Again, these are just like base layers, so obviously you'll go over these anyway, but it just adds extra dimension to it if you've got multiple layers of colour of varying shades. Basically you start off with the darkest colour and you work your way to your lightest, and it's really up to you what sort of colour you want to do it. The tutorial where I saw how to do corpsing was on Still Beast Studios by Alan Hops, and he did his like a sort of reddy brown gungy one, but I'm going more for like a sort of grey, dusty, old mummy type corpse, because I might actually put bandages on him as well. So I wanted like a sort of grey dusty colour in the end, and I'm just working that colour around and anywhere where obviously bones exposed inside as well. And what I'm doing is as I go along I add just a tiny bit more yellow ochre, and that lightens it up a touch, and then add a layer of that. Then once I'd added the yellow ochre, I wanted to add a little bit more of that grey colour back, so I took blue, white and black acrylic paint and a bit more of a hefty blob of liquid latex, and again mix them all together with my brush. By the way, don't use a brush that you like, use one that you're going to throw away. This is a really old paintbrush of mine that's due to go in the bin soon, so I'm just killing it with the latex. And I mixed it together to make a sort of lightish bluey grey, and wipe most of it off onto a baby wipe, and then just flick the brush backwards and forwards so the tips of the bristles are touching the skeleton, and adding that little layer of that sort of bluey, light, dusty grey type of colour that I wanted to make. Then to finish it off I added a little bit more white and used that sort of bluey, very pale grey just to add to the very top highlights, so like the things that stick up the furthest on him, so like the bridge of the nose the cheekbones, the very top of the textures of the skin, his teeth, that sort of thing. I added this colour to it. Anywhere where I felt it had gone a bit too light, I added a bit more black and grey. I decided in his pelvis where it was brown it didn't look right, so I just added a bit of grey there just to disguise that a bit. And then for the middle I've added like a shriveled up piece of plastic in there from the bin bag, and I added a bit of red to that just to make it look a bit different, add a bit more colour to it, and that would be like what's left of his guts. And that's pretty much it. I just carried on doing that till I was happy with that light colour, until I was happy with it, and that's how I made him into a corpse. If you want to see the first 2 tutorials, click on one of the images here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.